Humans have become more intimate with each other through media devices, but have also become more intimate with the devices themselves. These media artifacts are now part of people's daily lives and are almost like an extension of their body. Now, more than ever, people are connected with each other through a phone, tablet, computer screen, and relationships are digitalized. People are comfortable with their media devices because they were created to be invisible, until they aren't anymore. In the instances where people become aware of their devices, they start to feel uneasy, and rightfully so, with daily articles about hackers hacking into webcams, data getting stolen or used without consent, ads that are a little too specific and targeted. It is easy to think that someone is listening and watching your every move. The promise of online privacy is compromised. Coronavirus has turned digital communication from a choice into a demand. The increasing dependency on online platforms can clearly leave us vulnerable. Early in the lockdown, a certain phenomenon called Zoom bombing emerged. People would hack into meetings to show violent videos or pornography. Further security concerns arose due to the way personal data was being collected by Zoom and the lack of end-to-end encryption in their software. These kinds of concerns became especially prominent at the start of the lockdown, when Zoom was overwhelmed by the sudden and extreme increase in users. It's not only the technological side of Zoom that leaves us vulnerable. The mental health of students is also taking a huge hit now that university lessons have moved online. The number of Dutch students suffering from depression and anxiety went up by 5% in a year. The lack of social interaction is especially a cause for concern when it comes to the first years. People across all ages are struggling with Zoom fatigue, which describes the tiredness, worry, or burnout associated with overusing virtual platforms of communication. Technology-assisted contact tracing, TACT, including contact tracing apps, have quickly become a component in many organizations and communities' plans to combat COVID-19. Just as quickly as TACT entered the conversation, so did privacy concerns. A common concern raised by privacy experts and consumers alike is the scope of data being collected by TACT systems, with location data being a particular point of concern. Location data raises special privacy concerns, not only because it is often difficult or impossible to anonymize with the potential to reveal detailed personal information about a user's movements and associations, but also because it is not actually necessary for effective contact tracing. Effective contact tracing typically identifies whether two users have been in close contact, not where they met. TACT systems like Apple-Google's joint solution use Bluetooth technology, measuring the strength of Bluetooth signal between two users' devices to determine whether the two users have come in close contact with each other, to track potential contact between users without having to track their locations. With the power to collect and use vital personal information of their users, contact tracing apps are a double-edged sword in the fight against COVID-19. As the same data that can reduce a community's vulnerability to the virus can increase the data subjects' vulnerability to privacy violations. Contact tracing app providers and technology vendors providing the foundational technology systems and services should be transparent about their privacy and data collection practices, and should commit to restricting their use of the data for contact tracing purposes. Organizational users like governments, employers, and universities implementing TACT systems should make similar commitments to limited use and transparency to reduce the risk of privacy violations and establish trust with users, to encourage the pervasive use of the system required for it to be effective. You might argue that there is nothing new about all this. In recent years, both governments and corporations have been using ever more sophisticated technologies to track, monitor, and manipulate people. Yet, if we are not careful, the epidemic might nevertheless mark an important watershed in the history of surveillance. The normalization of the deployment of mass surveillance tools in countries that have so far rejected them. Asking people to choose between privacy and health is in fact the very root of the problem, because this is a false choice. We can and should enjoy both privacy and health. We can choose to protect our health and stop the coronavirus epidemic not by instituting totalitarian surveillance regimes, but rather by empowering citizens.